I'm about to drop a serious bombshell on y'all today. I'm gonna tell you a truth that doesn't seem like it's true, but if you search your heart, if you search your mind, you're gonna know it's the truth. You'll feel it. I am you, you are me, and we collectively are the creator of the universe. We are God. Yeah, so if that blows your mind or if that makes you think, you might want to stick around for this. Got something for you. Good afternoon, y'all. It's CGR here with another video for you, a long form video. Haven't made one in a while, but I was really inspired today. It's Friday, August 21st, 2:27 p.m. at the time of this recording. And I want to talk about this concept. Science is starting to come to terms with it. Science has come to terms with the ideas that we are all having this collective shared experience, right? And on a grander scale, it seems that consciousness or awareness seems to be a little bit more grandiose than we used to think it was. So don't want to bore you too much with the science. I just want to talk about something for a second. I'm going to talk about something that's really hard to hear, but it took me a while to understand it and to start to accept it, but I've learned that it's true. If you hate somebody, anybody, if you hate someone, that means you hate yourself. Do you understand what that means? Do you get what I'm talking about here? You can't love yourself and hate other people. Now you might say to me, oh, but CGR, that's not true because I love my family, but I hate anybody that will do something bad to my family or somebody who would say something bad about my family. And to a lesser degree, you're right. And I'm not even gonna act like I'm better than that or that I'm somehow immune from this idea because I haven't reached this level of love that I'm gonna talk about today. This video is really talking about unconditional love. Unconditional love it's different. It hits a lot different when you understand what it is. And I've experienced it maybe 2, 3, possibly 4 times that I can remember. One of them was when I was taking ayahuasca, when I was feeling like I didn't want to be here anymore in this world. And I decided to take ayahuasca and I did, and I have that video on the channel. You're welcome to go see it. The second was when I took psilocybin mushrooms, and that was another time that I was having a very bad time. I haven't been officially diagnosed with PTSD or depression or anxiety, but I can guarantee that if the doctors were to put me through the whatever testing they do to make sure if you have that, I probably qualify for it. And I think it's a good reason why I get along so much with soldiers. So it's probably the reason that I get along really well with soldiers and people that have had military combat experience and people that have grown up in the slums, in the ghettos, in the hood. You know, we have that trauma bonding. Trauma bonding, you've heard of that, right? Trauma bonding is like when you've gone through something, like think of it as like a survivor's bonding in a way. Like people that like say they survived September 11, the attacks that happened and they were in New York City. A lot of people, even though it was chaotic and even though it was very destructive, a lot of people bonded over surviving and working together. And they felt that higher love. They felt that love that's not like, you know, because we as humans, we get caught up in this illusion. The illusion tells us, I'm separate from you, you're separate from me, and therefore you need to take care of yourself and you need to look out for your own interests and forget about me and forget about everybody else and don't help anybody, and they're all out to get you and they're all wanting your money and they all want to take advantage of you and they all want to do all this stuff. All this noise that we're talking about, this is a distortion of who we really are at our core, at our true depth, who we really are as human beings. You know, it sounds crazy. I get it. I know it's going to sound crazy, but you know, I was watching the new, have you guys seen on Hulu, the new show from Pompeii with Tom Hiddleston, AKA Loki? Love that guy. Love the show. If you haven't watched it, please, if you have Hulu or Disney Plus, it might be on Disney Plus because I think Disney Plus and Hulu share stuff now. Anyway, it's something, Pompeii something or another, but it has Tom Hiddleston, AKA Loki. Man, my wife and I just watched the 3rd episode of it. It's 3 episodes. It's a mini documentary and it was amazing. It was really good. And one of the things that I walked away from with it is the same thing why I mentioned September 11th is through chaos, through destruction, through grand pain, like, this grandiose pain and suffering and thing that like, it's not really in your power and it's not in your control, but somehow or another, we bond together through it. And that's when we realize who we really are. When we're in a disaster, we like to think, or most of us think, that human beings, we're lying all the time. We're trying to look out for ourselves. We're selfish. We're, hateful. We're spiteful. And we, for the most part, we play that role. We play that role for the same reason that I played that role. I played that role because as a child, and, it's amazing. My 8-year-old child is the one that reminded me of this, my son. As an 8-year-old child, I was, maybe not as an 8-year-old, but when I was younger, I'm probably like 5 or 6, my son now at 8 years old reminds me a lot of how I used to be. And how he is he's such a sweetheart. He's such a loving kid, yes, he can be annoying. Yes, he can be mean at times to his sisters when he's frustrated or when he's annoyed about something. But I've been working with him and teaching him, hey, those are your sisters. You don't talk to them like that. You don't hit them, because if he hits them, I'm smacking the kid up, right? So I try not to hit my kids unless they do something that's violent. If they respond with violence, I respond with violence. That's just how I am. It might not be good, it might be wrong, whatever, but that's what works for me. There's a reason why when, and when I say violence, I don't mean like I'm punching the kid or knocking them out or hitting them, like kicking them or whatever, but I spank their butts, I'm old school like that. I'm a very old school person. I've said that in a lot of my videos. I am a person who believes that, the middle ground is the best way. So it should never be abusive or strict to the point where you're, suffocating the child and not allowing them to express themselves, not allowing them to be who they are. But I also don't agree with this other extreme, which is let the kid do whatever they want. Who cares? It's my parents abuse me, so I'm going to go the opposite route and neglect or ignore everything that the child does. When many times when a kid does something that's wrong, they're reaching out, they're asking for help, they're asking for guidance. That's our job as parents. A lot of people don't want to hear that. Some people might not agree with me, and that's fine. They don't have to. But going back to my example with my son, he's such a sweethearted boy. He really is. All of his friends and all the people, like the mothers of his friends, they all are in love with him. They're like, oh, he's such a sweet boy. He's such a good boy. And when I was a kid, I used to be just like that. As a matter of fact, that's one of the things that my father tried to beat out of me. And, he didn't actually, if he punched me, like he smacked me and hit me with the belt a lot. But thank God he never really punched me, because with the destructive power that my father has and that I have, if we punched our kids, they probably wouldn't be around to talk about it. And it just is what it is. My father boxed, I boxed. We probably have that genetically predisposed to destroy something when we hit it. And, it's not that we're so much stronger than anybody else, but my point stands. My father tried to literally like whoop that out of me, right? So what he would do is when I was a kid, when I was smaller than my son is now, he would force me to like fight, right? And like he wouldn't like full contact hit me with punches, but he would come at me like that and wouldn't let me like do anything else. So I'd always be like, no, I don't want to, Dad. No, I just want to play games. Like, here's my Switch 2 Pro control. Got my PS5 here, my Xbox controller is charging because that's the console I actually use the most. I use the Xbox the most and then the Switch 2. Anyway, back to the point. I'm trying to stay focused here. So my father tried to beat that out of me, so to speak, or like whip me into shape, as they used to say in the old days. And he thought that me being loving and nice and kind and sweet was actually a weakness. And I followed it. I believed it because he's my father. He knows best. He's older than me, right? I'm just a little kid. What do I know? So I, and most of us as children, we adopt that. We adopt what our parents teach us, for better or for worse. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes the bad things that they do accidentally turn us into a good thing, right? Like, for example, some of the people that I know, their parents were strict, but they were not abusive like my parents. But because they were strict and they didn't spoil their kids, Like one of my good friends, for example, like he was never spoiled. He was given things for his birthday. Yeah, like he had consoles like all the other kids in their neighborhood. No matter how poor we were, somehow we can afford these consoles, right? It's crazy. But he was never spoiled. He was never given like any like, you know, trust funds or anything like that. But today, and he doesn't like talking about it because he's had a lot of bad experiences with people that are like trying to take advantage of him, or they think that like, you know, that they can get something, squeeze money out of him or whatever. So he's become cautious. And this actually, if you remember what I was talking about in the beginning, we fall into these roles. That's not who he really is. He's really a kind, generous person. He's a loving person. But he's been hardened by this world, just like I was hardened by the world. I was hardened by this world and my father. And my mother, unintentionally, she never intentionally was mean to me. She was never bad to me intentionally, but just the way that she was, you know, you got to remember she grew up in a different time. She grew up as basically the only child because she was the baby of like 8 siblings that she had. And 2 of her older siblings are still alive. My mother unfortunately passed away. But she was the baby. She grew up when all her other siblings had moved out. So she didn't really have like sisters or brothers to kind of like show her the way or show her the ropes. And her father, when she was a little girl, you know, he was, turns out like apparently he was a very wealthy man in the Dominican Republic. And somehow he got, in Spanish, the word is inválido. I think basically the best translation for that is handicapped. He had some sort of thing. I don't know if it was a stroke. My mom never really explained what it was. She just said that he couldn't bathe himself on his own. He couldn't move around a lot. Her mother died as a little girl, right? So she was basically raised by my grandfather's maids, right? Because in the Dominican Republic, he was apparently rich. And that's not saying a lot because in the Dominican Republic, you can be like middle class and have a maid, right? Like the people just, it used to be anyway. I don't know about how it is now. I know that now like it's gotten really bad. It's gotten dangerous and violent. And there's a lot of theft. There's a lot of, you know, like people will kill you over like a gold chain. So like if you ever go to the Dominican Republic, if it's still anything like it was the last time I checked in, which was about a year or 2 ago, you know, don't go there wearing jewelry. Don't go there with the fancy like stuff. Like if you're an influencer and you want to like look the part or whatever, don't go there. Go to a country that's a little bit more wealthy, that's a little bit less corrupt, right? Because as much as I love the Dominican Republic as a kid, it's a beautiful country. The land is beautiful. There's like beautiful mountains. Like I remember this one area that it was close to the beach and it was like grassy green mountains. It looked like something out of like China, like the way you see like in those like, you know, those hilly mountains that are not really spiky. But anyway, Dominican Republic used to be a country when I was a kid that you can go there and, you know, with $5 American, with $5 US, you can buy like the equivalent of like $30 to $50 worth of stuff in DR. It was always not a rich country, so to speak, but now it's poor to the point where, at least in the past, the poor people were able to afford food. They can afford food and they were able to buy, you know, like to survive. So poor people in Dominican Republic lived good. They didn't live in squalor. They didn't live in poverty. They didn't feel the need to do crime, to do drugs, or go around, you know, sticking people up on motorcycles just so that they can get some money so that they can feed their families. It's really unfortunate. One of my goals. I have so many goals, guys. I want to fix this world. I want to actually make this world a better place. And, you know, I've been very negative and very pessimistic, and it's because I feel like I've been doing everything alone. But then when I sit back and I really analyze it, I'm not really alone, am I? Because I do have friends I have at least 2 friends that check in with me every now and then. I have 2 other people that are close to me that I can call friends, that we talk every now and then. We mostly share funny videos with each other, but you know, that's better than nothing. It's not alone. And that's part of that illusion that we accept as human beings, you know? We accept this illusion that sometimes we're either alone, and that is coming from how I felt when my mother would go out in the middle of the night. And, you know, back to what we were talking about with my mom, she used to go to the nightclubs, but all I knew as a kid was, she told me this as, you know, when I got older, she told me that she was sorry and she apologized for making me feel this way, because I told her, I'm like, Mom, you know, like I never forgot how many times you would go in the middle of the night when you thought I was sleeping or when you thought I was supposed to be, you know, knocked out already in bed. And I would see you all dressed up and smelling like perfume. I would smell you walking past me, even if I was sleeping. That smell was strong and it would wake me up. And I would always see you like with a purse and like those tight little dresses and, you know, kind of like revealing clothing, which also shapes why I don't like women that dress revealing and all that stuff. Now, that is not to say that I don't find it attractive. Like, you know, when women are out there in the gym and they're having this skin tight pants and skin tight, like, you know, cleavage showing, breast stuff, whatever, like, I don't even know what the hell they're wearing, if it's a shirt or a tank top, whatever the case may be. I find it attractive. I look, and, you know, and I even tell my wife, I'm like, holy crap, baby, like, there's times that I prefer to go to the gym with my wife, so that at least if I'm gonna look at a woman, I'll look at her, right? I'll put the blinders on and I'm looking at her. But you know, when I go by myself, there are times where women are looking amazing, and I don't know if, you know, hey, that's a good segue. So we're talking about we're all one, right? We're all connected. It sounds fake. It really does. It sounds like some mumbo jumbo, woo woo kind of stuff. But if you think about it, if you really sit down and think about it, I think we're connected and we communicate with each other in ways that you can basically say is telepathic, but I don't think we do it with conscious awareness, right? So for example, there was one girl that I spoke about this in one of my shorts the other day. She was following me like every workout that I was doing. And the gym that we go to is Genesis, used to be called RDV. It's huge, right? So there's like 4 this like huge separated areas that have different kind of machines to do weight training and stuff like that. So I was in one area, and then it wasn't because I noticed her. I only noticed her because she kept on popping up. But I would go to one area to do machines, like let's say I was doing this machine right here, and then I would go another area, do like the leg, the assisted squat thingy with the weights on. And everywhere that I went, she was like 1 or 2 machines next to me, and she kept on following me consistently that day. And I remember thinking like, damn, is this girl into me? And you know, I do this thing with muscle testing where I'll ask a question, right? And I try to connect. I believe that I can connect to the source of truth and to divinity. And I'm actually training this ability now because I think I can get better at it. And I've gotten really cool results with people in the past where it's very accurate to know things that I have no way of knowing, or get information that I have no way of knowing, things about people's past that I barely knew, or that, you know, we were just acquaintances or something like that. And it's not that I'm not smart or that I can't, you know, maybe infer things, but there's a difference between, you know, inferring and guessing based off what conversations you're having. And then there's a difference with getting information that you're like, this sounds crazy, but this X, Y, and Z true? And then they're like, yeah, I've never told anybody that. And that's when I'm like, oh, there might be something to this. But since we are all one collectively, we're all one consciousness, right? But our awareness is stuck in this. It's stuck in our heads, it's stuck in our bodies. So when we go to bed at night, have you ever had a dream where you feel like was so real, and you're in the dream, and when you wake up, you're like, oh, wait, yeah, this is my reality. This is where I live. This is my house, right? But like, I've had dreams where I woke up in a different house and I was still interacting with like my wife or my children, or like different combinations of people that I knew. And I remember feeling like that seemed crazy, because it's one thing for your subconscious mind to make up events, but it's a whole nother thing to make up either full people that you've never seen before. And yes, you could argue that maybe you've seen the person once and for some reason your brain registered the snapshot of their image, so you recreated them in a dream. Okay, fine, maybe. But I consciously have no awareness of meeting some of the people that I've met and spoken to in the dreams, and the feelings that you have for them, right? Because it's one thing to see somebody in your dreams, but it's another thing to feel like you've always known them, like you're connected to them, like you had this life with these people, right? That's a different thing. That's not the same thing as like, oh, I seen random stranger lady at the gym, and then I have a dream that her and I are going to town and, you know, doing something crazy, which that's another achievement. Just wanted to bring that as a quick segue. I'm very grateful. I haven't had, as much as I've had like crazy episodes in the last few months, and I've been struggling with like mental health and, you know, trying to like get rid of these old demons, so to speak. I haven't had what I used to have, which was very sexual porn related dreams. Like, and by porn, I mean like porn-like scenarios, right? So it used to be that when I would see like the beautiful girl that was following me in the gym, in my mind, automatically, like without even thinking about it, without planning it, without wanting to do that, because it would always make me angry and guilty when I would have these thoughts. It would be like, I'd see this girl and I automatically see myself doing stuff to her and like, you know, touching her and all this kind of stuff and having intimacy with her. And I would tell my wife about it, because in my mind, my parents are from the Dominican Republic. we have a very wide and varied background, right? Like we have a very genetic, like diverse background. But as far as being from the Dominican Republic, we unfortunately have a bad reputation of being, promiscuous, of cheating, of being like, sneaky and not faithful in our relationships. And I'm not going to say that it's not without earning it. Like a lot of Dominican people in the last like 10, 20 years, they've done stuff like that, man. Cheated, kept secrets, done things that you wouldn't want somebody to do to you, right? And unfortunately, that's because the Dominican Republic, we've been such a poor country for so long. And I think we've had a self-esteem problem because when you love yourself, like I said, you can't love yourself and hate somebody else. To do something hurtful to somebody else intentionally or knowing that it's going to be hurtful and not caring and doing it anyway, that is a hateful thing to do. That's something that you shouldn't do that, That's not something that's cool. There's no excuse for that, right? So my thing was when I would tell my wife, oh man, I'm so sorry, baby. I had these thoughts about X, Y, and Z girl that I seen today. And I was upset and I was feeling uncomfortable because I'm having all these, and by the way, I had this knowledge already, but if you guys didn't know this, when you have a vivid experience in your brain, neurologically, it's sending the same signals to your body as if you were doing that actual thing. Right? That's why I always say it's so important that we learn how to love ourselves and be kinder to ourselves, because if you keep replaying, let's say in that scenario, if I keep replaying those thoughts of like, oh my gosh, being intimate with this woman or whatever, it's not that I'm actually cheating with her, but to my body, it is. My body is cheating with her because my body is having that experience neurologically, chemically, and emotionally and hormonally even, So, it used to be exhausting. I used to get so tired because I would always have this stuff happen. And if you guys didn't know, I guess I'll say it again. The reason that I had these porn-like thoughts and all that stuff, I actually worked in the adult entertainment industry for 2 years, but I think the reason I got that job and why I was able to work there, and it was funny enough, it was the best job I've ever had. The bosses were super respectful. They treated me like a human being. They cared about me. They helped me to grow. They gave me an opportunity and a platform to grow. And I would have never left that job if it wasn't because kind of the universe moved me into that position to leave that job. But before that, I had been introduced to pornography at a very young age. I might be exaggerating, but it was either 4, 5, or 6 years old when I first got introduced to pornography. And the thing was, it was introduced to me with the concept or the context of this is what women want, right? So I used to think, hey, if this is what women want, they want guys, when they're feeling bad, I used to think that if I had a female friend and she was feeling bad, that it was my job to give her pleasures in the intimate sexual way, because I thought that by doing that, I would cheer her up, because remember, I'm taught this is what women want. This is what they're looking for. So, yeah. All of this stuff, I may sound like I'm rambling, and I apologize if it's hard to follow, but I'm laser focused on what I'm trying to get across to you guys. The focus and the point is we're all interconnected. We're all one being, right? We're one consciousness having unique experiences through our human spaceship, if you will. Our soul, our spirit, whatever you want to call it, whatever it is, our energy. We are energy. We're energetic beings. There's a reason why people have near-death experiences and come back changed. There's a reason why people say that they sometimes have experiences where they communicate with their dead, beloved one, ancestor, whatever. There's a reason why we can communicate with beings that are far beyond us and stuff like that. Channeling, people that do channeling, that, if you've ever looked into Bashar, they actually did like a test where they had him hooked up to like the EEG or whatever, that machine. And they found that there's an area of the brain, and I'm probably not going to remember what it's called, because as much as I like science and looking into stuff and studying for my own knowledge and for my own understanding, I don't really remember the names because I'm not a hardcore scientist and I don't pretend to be and I don't want to be either. But whatever the area of the brain is that has association, right? Association with a personality. According to the study that Bashar did, that area of the brain never turns off unless you die, right? Even when you're sleeping, that area is still reminding you, this is who you are, this is your experiences, this is your collective experience. When Daryl Anka channels Bashar, they had the thing on him, and they said it was strange because that personality center of the brain completely shuts down. Like they see no electrical activity, no heat. It shuts down and he's communicating. So that, first of all, is impossible for our current level of knowledge. That's not supposed to be possible. There's more to us human beings than what we could just chalk up to like whatever scientists or whatever like theory or whatever. So while I like science and while I appreciate science and I like learning and I respect the scientific pursuit of information and studying things that we don't understand, I'm not a fan of dogma, and same reason why I'm not part of a religious organization. So I don't know if you guys can see right up there behind me, but I have my talit bag, talit gadol, and that's basically, it looks like almost like a cape or like a long scarf, and we would use that as a prayer. It's called a prayer shawl, and that's I don't know if I told you guys, but I went from agnostic, where I just had my own beliefs about God or whatever God was and the universe and all that stuff. I went from agnostic as a kid pretty much my whole life. I was raised as a Roman Catholic, but that means that I never went to church. And the only times that I went to church was when I would visit my grandmother, and she would take me occasionally. And this is the same grandmother, my abuela Amada, that she told my cousin on her deathbed that our family was Jewish. So there was that anecdotal story, but then there was also the DNA test that I took that showed that I did actually have Israeli ancestry. So I wanted to learn a little bit more about Judaism. So I studied it, I learned it. I went to the Orthodox, it was really Hasidic. So I went to Chabad in Orlando, and I was there for a while. Before that, I started with the Messianic Judaism, which is basically like the Christian with Judaism flavor. It was a Jewish flavored Christian, which is actually, if you think about it, that's what the Christian religion should be. It should be the Jewish practices brought in through the lens of this, Jewish rabbi, Yeshua, aka Jesus Christ or whatever. That's what it should have always been. It was supposed to be that, but somehow it became Romanized, and there was the whole Council of Nicaea where they decided which books were going to be canon, and they decided, what the dogma was going to be. And back then, people were not allowed to read, so whatever the priest said, that was the word of God. And for all intents and purposes, this is why we have so many legends and stories and myths that are not explicitly written in the Bible, but we have come to agree. So, like for example, the war between angels and fallen angels or whatever, right? First of all, bad translations, mistranslations. There's no such thing in the Hebrew canon, in the Torah or in the Tanakh. The Tanakh. The Tanakh is the other books, right? So what people call the Old Testament in Jewish literature is the Tanakh. And there's no real, if you ask rabbis that actually study ancient Hebrew and they basically have the teachings that were passed on for generations, there's no real concept of a fallen angel. For example, in Jewish mysticism, we're taught that basically angels are they're an energetic being of some sort, but their name, whatever name they have, is the job or the role that they fill. So for example, Ha-Satan, Satan, right? We think Ha is Satan is Satan, but Satan is not really evil, devil, Lucifer, want to kill you, 666 stuff, right? Or want to destroy the world. Satan means adversary. And when you think about the word adversary, it doesn't mean adversary as in your enemy. It means in the sense of think of a legal court trial. So it would be more closer in English, it would be closer to the idea of prosecutor. So Ha-Satan, the angel that has the name Satan, is a prosecutor. Its role or its job when it takes on that name, think of the names as a clothing or a helmet or an armor or something, right? Just metaphorically, because these are energetic, higher beings or whatever. So if they're real, which I do believe that they are, these angels, they take on certain roles, but they're not limited to a certain role. This is one of the reasons why in the Old Testament, you'll see a lot of times when they ask the angels, what's your name? They'll be like, why are you asking my name? They're basically telling you it doesn't matter. It's not really my name. It's not who I am. It's just a role that I'm playing right now. So when the archangel Michael comes and, and talks to Joshua, whatever, or maybe it was the archangel Raphael, I don't know. I'm a little rusty on my Bible knowledge, but this I know for a fact. When that angel came and Joshua was like, hey, what's your name? Tell me your name so I could tell all the people like that you came and you talked to me. And he said, why does my name matter to you? Like, what does it matter? And then he was like, oh, okay, I guess. And somehow we inferred, or maybe later, like we figured out or something that his name was whatever it was. But my point is the angel Hasatan, Satan, the satanic angel, right, is not this demonic, evil, wanting to drag you into hell and steal souls kind of thing. That was a Roman concept that was put onto the Jewish framework that became Christianity, right? So Christianity today, if you look at the church, right, it's Sunday, but Shabbat was always Friday night to Saturday night. It was supposed to be that we go to church, quote unquote, Friday night to Saturday night, but it became Sunday. Why? Because Sunday was the day of Apollo or the day of, the sun. So in Roman society, that was considered a high spiritual thing. Apollo was, the god of sun. He got fused with Helios, but he was like the god of sunlight and or the sun. He was the sun incarnate. He was the sun incarnate, also the god of music, poetry, and spirituality, piety. So as you can see, for the Romans, Sunday would have been a day to connect to like higher spiritual energies or whatever, right? So it was an easy transition to make Saturday, Friday night of the Jews go to Sunday, not Saturday night to Sunday morning or whatever, right? So it's sundown to sundown in the original Bible. But my point is, a lot of these concepts that we have, fallen angels, demons, dragging you to hell itself is not in the Torah. It's not in the Bible. And the thing is, we have so many Christians in the world that this is why I talk about Christianity. And plus I came from there. So it would be fake of me to not talk about what I knew being a Christian at one point. But there's no such thing as a hell in the Torah. Gehenna is literally a place of fire. It's like where you put your garbage. You know how we take garbage dumps and you see fire sometimes because they're burning the trash? That was Gehenna in the ancient world. Gehinnom, same thing, but slightly different. But the only thing that was comparable to hell was called Sheol. And based on the Hebrew, depth study that rabbis have done in ancient days, they basically figured out that Sheol was supposed to be this place where your soul goes to cleanse itself from all the evil that you did. Because all the evil and all the wickedness that you do in this world, you're going to pay for it, right? According to the Jewish belief, you'll pay for it, but it's not an eternal punishment. If you think about God, and I'm telling you all of this for a reason, God is supposed to be perfect, pure, unconditional love. How can a being that's unconditionally loving allow you to burn or suffer for all eternity, no matter what you did, knowing that we've been put into this world where we don't know what the hell is going on? I can't prove to you anything that I'm saying is true, and an atheist can't prove that anything that I'm saying is wrong. They could just say, prove it, and we could both sit there saying, you prove it, no, you prove it, oh, you started it, so you got to prove it. Okay, well, I can't prove it, so you prove that it doesn't exist. Oh, I can't. It's a stalemate. You're never going to get anywhere with there. And maybe the times are coming where we'll get higher knowledge and we'll be connected to the truth, and people won't need to ask what's real, what's fake, or all that stuff. But as it stands, this experiment called life, this experiment called being a human being, we come here, if you believe that we are spirit, that God made us in its image, in its divine, perfect image. First of all, if that's true, then we would all have to look identical if you believe that the body is the image of God. The body was never the image of God. When God blew breath into the clay, into the mud, into the water, right? This mixture of mud and fire, and mud and water, and then basically when it blew the breath, air. So just like in the ancient world, there's always this concept of fire, earth, wind, and water, right? Those are the four major elements that created all stuff. And it was a common theme. Like Romans believed it, Greeks believed it, most of the ancient world believed that. So we were earth, we were made formed from mud, right? But if you think about it, what's mud? Mud is wet water, right? So that's why supposedly our blood is 90% like water, or whatever the number is. You can fact check me on that. Whatever the number is, our blood is mostly water, right? So our body is supposed to be earth. And if you look at the composition of our body, it is basically the same minerals and components as what you'll find in the ground, like in the dust of the earth. It's why we return to dust when we die. But when God blew the living breath, God blew the breath into this clay doll, basically, it sparked the fire of the soul in Hebrew, and in the ancient world, the soul was generally associated as fire element. So when God, gave this fire to the human being through the breath, now we're a complete being. We have earth, wind, water, fire, and therefore the essence of what God really is was whatever the breath was, whatever the wind was, and that fire, that's what God's image is, right? God's image is not a physical man or a woman. God is not male nor female. So in the beginning, God created men and women. In God's image, God created them, male and female. He created human beings, right? This is telling you that we are basically one thing. We are one being. Male, female, that's why we have people that identify as a woman or identify as a man. And some people don't like that. And biologically, it's not true. Like, we either are biologically male, biologically female, but you can identify as whatever you want. And you can feel that you were supposed to be born a woman because you're identifying more with your feminine side. But our soul is genderless. It's not male or female, our essence, right? We are God. So what I'm telling you all this stuff for is that I'm not at the level of unconditional love yet. Unconditional love, the kind of love that God has, that I talked about, that I experienced when I was under ayahuasca and then under psilocybin, which plant medicines can somehow connect you to this divine source. There's some sort of intelligence that we don't understand about plant medicine, about psychedelics. That's beautiful and it's amazing. But like anything else in this world, if you don't prepare for it, if you're gonna ever do psychedelics, don't do it for fun with a bunch of friends. You need to prepare for it, meaning like meditate like a month or two and get a meditation practice. Go deep, start being introspective. If you take plant medicine and you're being introspective and you wanna be the better version of yourself and you wanna discover more about yourself, or you wanna learn more about the nature of reality, if you wanna know, for example, because I can't prove it to you, but I know without a shadow of a doubt that we are all God, God is all us. From the very beginning, before anything that existed, all this matter, all this space, all this time, everything that exists in every form, in every dimension, the basic building block of this is God's love. We exist because of God's love. This is why it's not in our nature to do evil things, to do wicked and evil things. We can do it, and we have. History has shown that we've been terrible people sometimes, right? So all of this is to say, I want to get to the point where without psychedelics, without, like help or aids, I can feel this unconditional love. But the truth is, I'm not there right now because, for example, one thing that sets me off, I hate it, I absolutely hate it. When I contact somebody or I talk to somebody and they ghost me. And it's one thing if it's like, for example, if somebody's really busy and I know they're really busy and they don't get back to me like within a few days or something like that, not a big deal. But when I know that these are people that usually get back right away and then they ghost you, that feels intentional to me. I'm not unconditionally loving for that. I usually block those people. And if I feel like maybe I'm going to give that person a chance in the future, I may not block them. But like if we're friends on social media, I'll unfriend them. And I'm just like, because, part of me, like everything is steps, guys, everything comes in steps. I went from not loving myself at all. When I didn't love myself at all, when I had the lowest self-esteem ever in my life, I hated everybody. I hated people. I used to, if you look at my old posts, if you find it somewhere, I don't know, maybe you could search this term on Facebook. I used to pray and hope that a dinosaur killer asteroid would eliminate humanity because I felt like all of humanity was unworthy. We were all evil. We were all pieces of crap. We were all selfish. Nobody cares about each other. How can we rape somebody that's a child? How can we hurt a child? How can we hurt another human being? How can we shoot somebody in the head or shoot somebody in the chest or whatever and just think that we are justified in doing that? How can we steal from people? How can we cheat on people that love us and care about us and they're trusting you? How can you betray somebody like that? You would be asking for a dinosaur killer too, wouldn't you? I'm pretty sure. But I've gone through stages. That was one stage that I was in. When I was in that stage, that's how I became hardened. I used to be unconditionally loving when I was a child. When I was a little kid, just like my son is today, anybody that came, that's my friend, yay, I love them. Anybody, if they did something wrong to me, oh, that's okay, that's fine. I didn't even think about it. It didn't even register as they did something bad to me. It was only after a long repeated observations of seeing like, man, some people, I'm really nice to them and I give them all this love and all this kindness and all this attention and they don't repay it or they don't treat me like that. So F them, why should I, right? That's the trap that a lot of us fall into as human beings. We fall into this trap of why should I? Why should I do something for somebody that they're not going to do for me? And I'm now in the second phase. The second phase is I love myself. So therefore, I love everybody. I don't want even the people that I block and I get rid of and I don't want to talk to anymore. For example, my father. I used to hate my father's guts. I used to say to myself that if he ever shows up, I'm going to kill him with my bare hands because he taught me how to do that. And I was like, if he wants me to make him proud, I'll make him proud. I used to feel like that. And I was willing to do that. I promise you, I was willing to do that. And I used to think about it and I'm like, man, I hope to God I never have to do that because even though he sucks and even though he's like a narcissist and an evil person that's selfish, he's a product of his pain and his suffering that he's gone through too. And he never learned any of the stuff that I'm learning now. He never had Wesley Virgin to get him started on the path of spirituality. He never went from Wesley Virgin to Dr. Joe Dispenza and read all the books, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, Becoming Supernatural, those two books, those are the books, I have them right here in my house. He never read those books. He never seen the neuroscience and all the scientific evidence that shows that this stuff that we're talking about, all this spiritual stuff that we used to think was mumbo jumbo for years, he never had a real scientific outlet to look at it and to say, hey, there's actually something significant. There's actually something worth studying there. He didn't have that. So the same way that I became hardened and I hated everybody, my father will say, he actually told this to my wife, and that was one thing I actually appreciated and I thought it was funny. He told my wife literally to her face, he said to her, you know what, Kana, like, I hate everybody, but you're all right. I don't hate you. You know what a compliment that is coming from a person that hates everybody and has been doing it for much longer than I have been doing it, right? I still don't talk to a lot of people in my blood family. Eventually, one day, when I get to the level where I feel like I can actually truthfully, without faking it, without forcing it, without trying to be something that I'm not, be at the level where I can get closer to unconditional love, at that point, maybe I'll just say, you know what? They didn't treat me right. They didn't love me. They weren't there for me when I needed them, when I was almost suicidal and I needed to take ayahuasca. And my wife was the only one who said, okay, I'm going to pay for this, even though you're not making money, even though I've been broke, and even though I was this fat. And if you guys want to take anything away from that, besides the fact that my wife is an amazing person and I love her and she's the best thing that ever happened to me, and no matter how rich or how successful or how famous I get, I will never betray her. I will never abandon her. I will not exchange her for some other celebrity just because supposedly I'm a celebrity or I'm this big shot or whatever. That will never happen because I am, for all intents and purposes, I was born on the cusp of Cancer and Leo. So I have a lot of the traits of a Cancer and I have a lot of the traits of a Leo, if you believe in astrology at all. And a Cancer is known as a family man. They can be promiscuous, and yes, they do have a high libido, just like Leos do. Like Leos and Cancers are known to have high libido, right? But Cancers are very family-oriented, family-focused. That's one of the reasons I don't show off my kids. It's not because I'm scared that somebody's gonna do something to my kids, but because my wife doesn't want anybody having access to pictures and videos of my children so that they can be perverted and, do stuff in their own privacy. I don't care. It's not that I don't care about that, because if I catch somebody doing something like that or saying something like that to me, I would view that as a threat. And my policy is eliminate threats as soon as possible, right? And if I feel threatened, I'm gonna take that opportunity, especially if it's in person. If somebody, God forbid, ever tries to hurt my children, that's a non-negotiable death sentence. For me, if somebody comes to try to hurt my wife or my children, you basically are telling me that you don't care about your life, you don't love yourself. So I, in my mind, in my crazy, traumatized, grew up in the hood, grew up in survival, grew up learning how to fight and destroy somebody. In my crazy mind, it's like you're telling me, help me by releasing me from this prison of this fake identity that I'm in, right? So in my way, it would be an act of love to destroy that person and eliminate the threat of evil, because in a way it would be releasing them from this character that they don't even really want to be. You know, I think a lot of the people that do these things like rape and abuse and all that stuff, I don't think any of them in their core, I don't think any of them want to do that. You know, I think a lot of them don't even think that they're doing something that's bad or terrible. They probably have this weird justification going on and thinking that like, oh, it was done to me, or like I've seen other people do it, or whatever, like I just need to do it and I'm not doing it because I hate the person, I'm doing it because that's my form of showing love. It's evil, it's wrong, but at the end of the day, you got to understand everybody has a different story, and I'm not justifying it, and I'm not saying that I would allow it. Again, I will eliminate somebody that tries to do that to my children or to my wife. I'll kill them, you know, and sorry if that gets me in trouble or whatever, if that makes people think that I'm trying to be some big bad guy, but I'm not. If you've heard me talking and if you see what I'm saying and you've paid attention to anything I've been saying in this video, I love people. I'm starting to love people again, right? I'm not at the unconditional love, but I'm at the, I love myself now, therefore I love others, right? But it's still hard when you've been doing something for so long, for 40 years, or like, let's just say we discount from age 1 to age like 8, right? So maybe 30 something years. Let's just say 30 years. When you've been actively hating yourself and then you start hating other people for 30 years, you start believing things about yourself that's not true. I used to believe people don't like me, people don't help me. And the messed up part is, you know, I've been doing Mana Entertainment since 2015. I started the CGR brand really last year, 2025. And since I've started it, it's been slow. I've gotten a lot of views, but I'm not getting a lot of likes or comments. And that used to really bother me. That used to upset me because I'm like, damn, is it that my videos suck? Or is it more proof that nobody likes me and that nobody cares about me and that nobody's willing to help me? It was a false belief that I had, but as crazy as that is, that I had the false belief, it was actually turning into reality. So we can manifest or create the reality that we don't want when we give into these false thoughts and these false ideas. And, you know, I'm going to wrap up this video. I don't know how long I've been going, but I feel really passionate about this one. So hopefully this one resonates with some of you guys. But yeah, like, you know, that unconditional love, that is the love that God has. And I should have said this in the beginning, but unconditional love, if you listen to the word, literally means there are no conditions, right? So if you feel like nobody loves you, the world sucks, Trump is Satan, and you know, the government wants to kill us all. I've had a lot of those beliefs. Not that Trump is Satan, because I don't care about politicians, but the government wants to kill us. And I still believe to this day that the government doesn't care about us, because how are they allowing things in our food that makes it that when we go out of the country, whether it's to South America, Asia, Europe, you know, anywhere else in the world, basically, how is it that we can eat similar or same foods that we eat here in America, but we lose weight or lose fat when we go out there, even in cultures where you don't walk a lot, even in places where you just go and, like, you know, it's not a walking culture, it's a driving culture. In those countries, you lose weight and you're basically healthier eating, quote unquote, the same food. But here in America, we have so much junk, so much additives, so much hyper processed ingredients in our food that it's like, if I eat a hamburger and French fries here in America, I will gain about 2 pounds. I've actually tested this on my cheat days from keto, on my keto diet days. I've actually tested it. I've gained 2 or 3 pounds from 1 day of cheat. If I do 2 days of cheating, which means like eating all the junk food and, you know, like pancakes with like whipped cream and blueberries and all the sweet stuff that they add to it and all those things. Like, I love Bob Evans. One of my favorite cheat meals is the blueberry pancakes at Bob Evans, and then getting one of those custom egg omelets. The egg omelets are fine. Like, if I just ate that, I'd probably be fine. But the pancakes, for all intents and purposes, it's like you're eating a cake, right? Because it has so much sugar, it has so much carbs, and those carbs convert to sugar, whatever. My point is, I can be justified, and I have valid experiences and valid proof, and I have testimonials from so many people that have gone to other countries and like, I ate all the same stuff that I like and I lost weight. And then I have testimonials from people that come from other other countries, and they come to America and they eat and they're like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? I came and I ate the same stuff that I eat in my country or the similar foods, and I'm gaining weight. Like, no wonder everybody's fat and dying in America, right? So the FDA that's supposed to have our back, they allow this stuff. So for me, I'm like, how can you be saying that you care about us as US citizens when we're eating worse than most of the people around the world. If we were such a rich country, which we are, financially, we're one of the richest countries in the world, but we're so poor when it comes to health, when it comes to mental health, when it comes to our, our emotional well-being, when it comes to our physical well-being. We're not doing great. And now our education seems to be getting worse because guess what? A population that's stupid, that doesn't learn and that doesn't understand things is very easy to control. You want to control a population? Make them sick so they can be dependent on you to get medicine and to go to the hospitals. Make them fat so that they can die slowly and be depressed and not get a good mate because unless they're super confident somehow, people view fatness as unattractive. And make us dumb. You have those three things. If you look at the United States, that's what we've become. We've become fat, sick, and dumb. And if you have a population that's fat, sick, and dumb, you're easy to control. So sorry if I went off on a little righteous tirade there, but my point is we got to get to the point, people, where we can be unconditionally loving, where our love is so powerful that we don't take offense or get offended by things so easily, where we could love like God, right? Where we can say, okay, this person is doing a disgusting thing or an evil thing, or I don't like this person, right? You don't have to like somebody, but when you love somebody, you love the core of who they are. You love the fact that in that person is the image of God, right? If you're Christian, if you're Jewish, if you're Muslim, we all have this faith-based concept that the image of God exists in all living things, right? Or at least in humans, but really in all living things. So you have this concept that how can you hate somebody that has the living image of God in them? But then you say, oh, but they have the image of God in them. Maybe that's true, but they're doing all this messed up stuff. So how can they be God? They're still God having this unique experience that I'm going to wrap this up with this. If you guys ever watched Naruto Shippuden, right? Kage Bunshin, Naruto and the original Naruto series, Kage Bunshin, you learn when Naruto's being trained by Jiraiya-sama that the Kage Bunshin, how it works is each clone that Naruto makes learns stuff and has experiences. And then when he undoes the clone or when the clone gets undone through combat, all the knowledge and things that clone learned comes back to the original source. I suspect this is how God works. We are all Kage Bunshins of God. We all look different. We don't look exactly the same. Obviously, God made us unique and gave us human bodies that look different and perform differently for certain people and can change, right? We're marvels of change. The fact that I was 350 pounds and now I'm 260, I changed. I lost whatever weight that is. You do the math. But my point is, that's what I believe we are trying to become, right? So we're trying to learn how to be better versions of ourselves, and we go through this life forgetting who we are. We don't remember that we are one with God, that we actually are God. It's hard. I know it's a difficult concept for Westerners to think of, especially people that grew up Jewish, Christian, or Muslim, but trust me on this one, guys. And if you don't trust me on this one, explore it for yourselves. Explore it. Let me know what you think. Comment down below. Please like, follow, support. Show me love. Prove to me that now that I believe that I'm worthy of love and that I believe that people do like me and that people do love me and people will support me, prove it by giving me a like, by giving me a comment. Tell me how much you enjoyed this video. Tell me what you learned from this video. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. CGR, much love, yo. Peace.